The winter night was bitterly cold, and the streets were nearly deserted. Snow fell heavily across the small town, coating everything in white. In the middle of it all, Daniel Parker, a single dad in his early 30s, was rushing down the road, clutching the hand of his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Daniel wasn't wealthy. Far from it. He worked double shifts as a mechanic and occasionally picked up janitorial work just to keep the rent paid. His hands were always rough from grease and his eyes carried the weariness of sleepless nights. But behind all that exhaustion, there was something unshakable, a father's love for his little girl. That night, Daniel had just closed the shop and was hurrying Lily home when it happened. Out of nowhere, a black luxury SUV swerved across the icy road, skidding dangerously before crashing into a snowbank not far from them. The sound of metal scraping echoed into the quiet night. Daniel froze for a moment, his instincts kicking in. Lily clung to his hand, eyes wide in fear. "Daddy, are they okay?" she whispered. Daniel quickly looked around. No one else was in sight. He didn't think twice. "Stay right here, sweetheart," he said firmly, before sprinting toward the car. Through the tinted glass, he saw a woman slumped against the steering wheel. He yanked the door open, his breath fogging in the freezing air. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" he shouted. The woman groaned faintly, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. She was pale, her breathing shallow. Without hesitation, Daniel pulled her out of the driver's seat, his heart pounding. She was heavier than he expected, but adrenaline gave him strength. "Hold on, stay with me," he muttered, lowering her gently to the ground. Lily stood a few feet away, terrified but watching her father with wide eyes. "Daddy, is she going to die?" "Not if we can help it," Daniel said, scooping the woman into his arms. He had no car. His old truck had broken down that morning. But the hospital was only a mile away. He didn't waste another second. With Lily trotting beside him, Daniel carried the unconscious woman through the snow, step after step, sweat mixing with the cold flakes clinging to his face. His arms ached, but he didn't stop. Each breath he took came out ragged, but he pushed on. By the time they reached the emergency room, his legs were trembling. Nurses rushed forward, lifting the woman from his arms. Doctors shouted orders, wheeling her away on a stretcher. Daniel collapsed into a chair, Lily climbing onto his lap. He wrapped his arms around her, his heart still racing. That was the night he unknowingly saved the life of Catherine Hayes, the reclusive billionaire heiress who rarely appeared in public. 2 weeks later, Daniel had nearly forgotten the incident. He didn't expect thanks. He didn't even know who she was. All he cared about was putting food on the table and making sure Lily had a warm bed to sleep in. Life went on as usual. He worked long hours at the auto shop, patched up tires, changed oil, and fixed engines that were far too broken for the prices he charged. Sometimes, at night, he tucked Lily into bed and worried about how much longer they could afford the tiny apartment with peeling paint and a leaky ceiling. But then, everything changed. One snowy morning, as Daniel was tightening the bolts on an old pickup truck, a sleek black limousine pulled up outside the shop. Daniel straightened, wiping his hands on a rag, confusion etched on his face. The door opened, and out stepped the very woman he had carried to the hospital, the same one whose life he had saved. Catherine Hayes. She looked very different now. No longer pale and fragile, she was striking, tall, poised, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She wore a tailored coat that probably cost more than Daniel made in 6 months. For a moment, he didn't even realize it was her. "You," she said softly, studying him. "You're the man who carried me that night." Daniel blinked, startled. "Ma'am, I just did what anyone would do." "No," she said firmly, stepping closer. "Not anyone. Most people would have kept walking, especially in that storm. But you saved my life." Daniel shifted uncomfortably, glancing toward Lily, who was sitting on a stool, swinging her legs and drawing on a scrap of paper. "I was just in the right place at the right time." Catherine's gaze softened when she noticed Lily. "Is she your daughter?" Daniel nodded. "Yeah, Lily. She's my whole world." For a long moment, Catherine said nothing. Her polished demeanor slipped, and something vulnerable flickered across her face. She cleared her throat, regaining composure. "I owe you everything," she said finally, "and I don't forget debts." Daniel frowned. "Look, you don't owe me anything. I don't want money, if that's what you're thinking. I just wanted to help." But Catherine wasn't listening in the way he expected. She glanced around the shabby shop, the rusted tools, the cracked window pane. Her sharp eyes took in every detail. "Tell me something, Mr. Parker," she asked quietly. "When's the last time someone helped you?" Daniel froze. The question hit harder than he thought it would. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Catherine nodded slowly, as if she already knew the answer. Over the next few days, strange things began to happen. First, Daniel received a call from the hospital saying his outstanding medical bills, money he still owed from Lily's pneumonia last year, had been mysteriously cleared. Then, the landlord who had been threatening eviction suddenly called to inform him that the rent for the next 6 months had been paid in full. Daniel was stunned. He knew exactly who was behind it. One evening, there was a knock at his apartment door. When he opened it, Catherine stood there once again, holding a small gift bag. Inside was a pair of pink boots, warm, sturdy, just Lily's size. "For her," Catherine said softly. "I saw she didn't have proper winter shoes." Lily squealed with delight, hugging Catherine's leg before running off to try them on. Daniel stood frozen, overwhelmed. "I told you," Catherine said, meeting his eyes. "I don't forget debts." "But why?" Daniel asked. You're a millionaire. You could have just said thank you and gone back to your life." Catherine's expression shifted, and for the first time, she looked almost lonely. "Because no one ever sees me as just a person," she whispered. "They see the money, the name, the power. That night, you didn't see any of that. You just saw someone who needed help. Do you know how rare that is?" Daniel swallowed hard, suddenly realizing the weight of her words. From that day on, their lives became unexpectedly intertwined. Catherine began visiting the shop, not as a customer, but as a friend. She would bring coffee, sometimes even dinner, and talk with Daniel while Lily played nearby. She learned about Daniel's struggles, about how he had lost his wife to cancer when Lily was just a baby. How he had been raising her alone ever since, doing everything he could to make sure she never felt unloved. In turn, Daniel learned about Catherine's life, how despite her wealth, she lived in a world of isolation, surrounded by people who wanted something from her. She confessed that she had no family left, no one she could truly trust. They were two people from opposite worlds, yet somehow, they understood each other better than anyone else ever had. One snowy afternoon, as they watched Lily build a crooked snowman outside the shop, Catherine turned to Daniel and said quietly, "You changed my life. You reminded me what humanity looks like. And maybe I can change yours too." Daniel looked at her, stunned. "Catherine, I don't want your money." "I'm not offering money," she interrupted. Her eyes were steady, unwavering. "I'm offering a chance. A chance for you and Lily to have the life you deserve. A chance for me, to finally have people in my life who see me for me." Daniel didn't know what to say. His heart pounded as he glanced at Lily, laughing freely in the snow, her cheeks red with joy. For the first time in years, he felt something he thought he had lost, hope. And he realized that sometimes, the smallest act of kindness could ripple into something far greater than he ever imagined.